So I wanted to share two solutions for two problems that I came up with these progress labels. So let's go ahead and run this and I'll show you. So the first problem is as we go away from these labels, you'll see that they are all cluttered and are basically unusable. So what I want to do is fade and shrink them as we go away. And now the next issue is if I turn the camera around, you'll see that you can still see them. And that's because technically they're in the correct places within the camera view. It's just that they're behind the camera. So those are the two issues that I want to show you how I solved. So let's go ahead and jump into the code here. And the first one is this handle element fade that I added. And to just get this out of the way first, I added a toggle that would basically make it so I can use some of these without worrying about it fading. And the main reason why is because some of these the user interacts with. And therefore, I want it to always be visible while the user is interacting with it. So I want to just shortcut this, or short circuit this rather, right here. Now the next thing is, and this is the core of how this works, is using inverse lerp. And what inverse lerp does is it basically does the opposite with this wait value and the return value of what lerp does. And so obviously what lerp does is if you have the values of 5 and 10 and you put 0.5, it will return 7.5. But with inverse lerp, if you have 5 here and 10 here and you put 7.5 here, it will return 0.5, right? Because it's halfway between 5 and 10. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this max show distance. And so if you're beyond this max show distance, this will return 0. And if you are beyond in the other direction or closer to these progress labels, then it will return a 1. Now if you're from a Unity background like I am, you'll know in Unity this value is already clamped for you between 0 and 1, but in Godot it's not. So we need to go ahead and clamp it here between 0 and 1. And now the next thing is I get this modulate value from the control, or from the parent of the control, or the parent control rather, which is called UI element. So I grab the color and then I apply this distance weight. Now like we said, as we are farther from this UI element, we will get a 0 value or closer to 0 value, and as we get closer, it will be closer to 1 or 1. And so therefore it will be more visible as you get closer and less visible as you get farther. And then we assign the color back to modulate. Now if you're using GD script, you can just go ahead and assign that directly. You can just say UI element.modulate.a equals, and it will do it. Obviously I'm using C#, and you can't assign the value directly on a struct. So next here is we have UI element.scale, and then we're just assigning it the scale times the distance weight. And default scale, I grab the default scale on ready, and that's so if I have a scale other than 1, which I do, it will give me that value instead, right? I don't want to just assume that it's 1. And then we're multiplying that scale by the distance weight here again. And so as we get closer, it will be closer to the default scale. And as we get farther, it will go away from the default scale. And then here we're just returning whether the element should still be visible or not. So So let's go ahead and take a look and see how that works. And now you can see as we go away, they shrink, and now we don't have all that clutter. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the second issue, which is those elements appearing behind the camera, even though the camera is facing the other way. And so what I do here is I grab our reference to our main camera, and what I'm doing is I'm going to convert to local coordinates relative to the camera the position that this UI element is being projected from. And essentially what this is like as if that element had become a child of the camera, and it'll give us those coordinates. So if it was a child of the camera and it was behind the camera, then the z value of its position would be below 0, right? It would be negative. So that's really all that is. And then I just take the previous visible value from this handle element fade. So if that was false, then it will not be visible. But also, if the relative position of the element is negative, that will also make it invisible. So now, if we look behind the camera, let's get really close so the fade doesn't apply. Now if we go and turn the camera around, you don't see those elements anymore, so it just hides them. So that's that solution, and I hope that helps somebody. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.